quite shocking. But technology has created the equivalent of a walk on the moon. How so? That the technology has uncovered how to make potato rolls. So a person shouldn't feel that on Pesach, that anything his little heart desires, like the man in the desert, was able to address all the desires of Am Yisrael. So really at these times, we have to marvel at the infinite, incredible, overwhelming blessings that Hashem is giving us, in spite of so much that is lacking within us. So with Sefer Vayikra, it goes straight into the Korbanot. Hashem called to Moshe from the tent of meeting, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when a man among you brings an offering to Hashem from animals, from cattle, from flock, you shall bring your offering. If one's offering is an elevated offering, he shall offer an unblemished male, he shall bring it to the entrance of the tent voluntarily." So really, we went through this idea of voluntarily last week. And this is the essence of it. That it's an act of love, not a commandment that faces a penalty so much as the highest levels of love. The lowest level of love is out of fear, of getting beaten up or getting whipped. So that fear creates an appreciation if one doesn't get whipped. Just like in the workplace, if the boss is a fair boss, so the staff have that kind of loyalty. A higher level of love is a love because of how it helps the individual. How the individual feels that it's good for me. And so a person starts to appreciate. And the highest level of love is at the level of addiction. And that level of love is a craving, a level that one's willing to give everything for. We saw in the Holocaust, tragically enough, some mothers were told, choose one child. When the Nazis in Machshamim wanted to murder children, the mothers threw themselves in the line of fire. This is a love greater than life itself. And when one gets to a level of appreciation of Kodesh Baruch Hu, the awesomeness that we can start thanking Hashem, but we can never end. Just for the infinite number of things that Hashem does for us in every second and second. The human body, just the vessel containing the neshama, is of infinite sophistication. That if one tiny little thing stopped working, or one tiny little thing ruptured or blocked, life as we know it would stop immediately. And how delicate is our existence in the universe where the sun burns at millions of degrees, and if the sun was just a little bit closer or a little bit further, it would either be incinerated or refrigerated. So 1 million miles roughly from the sun, life exists on this planet, and no other forms of life have been found on any other planet. That the epicenter of the universe, that is Ein Sof, the end of the universe will never be found, because Hashem's end is Ein Sof. Hashem's goodness is Ein Sof. And so when we contemplate how awesome and overwhelming it is that tiny little man can bring something to thank Hashem, an elevated offering, Korban Ola. Shall lean his hands upon the head of the elevation offering, and shall become acceptable for him, to atone for him. Shall slaughter the bull before Hashem. Sons of Aaron the Kohanim shall bring the blood and throw the blood on the altar. Now these parshas are so deep and so complex. We think, okay, put your hands on the animal, the blood gets sprinkled on the altar, and there you have it. Some delicious steaks. So you get a feast for your efforts. Some of the offerings are completely consumed on the altar. Some of them specific parts, and some of them just the blood. And the blood, under all conditions, is forbidden to us. The other side of the equation, that no honey or yeast is allowed with any offering. That's a klal. And we see that on Pesach, an unusual thing happens, that this is the only korban that is eaten after sunset. It's an incredible thing. But the first Leil Seder, where was that held?
In Egypt.
In Egypt. And where did they do the Shechita?
Inside their homes.
You would guess. And where would they do the Zriya, the sprinkling of the blood?
By the doorposts, no?
You can't sprinkle blood on the doorposts. It was meant to be painted on with hyssop. So where was the blood sprinkled? Where was the altar? Where's the eternal altar in this world?
In our hearts, but...
No, you couldn't sprinkle it in your heart.
No.
So where was it through the years that the Beis Hamikdash stood? Where was the altar? On Har
Right
HaBayit.
outside the...
On Har HaBayit. Where?
Yeah.
Close to the Even HaShtiyah. Close to the Holy of Holies. So, if one could imagine, approximately 600,000 people, or maybe millions of people, are bringing their Pesach offerings with their lists of who's included in each offering. Can we contemplate the magnitude of what needed to be done, the logistics? If it was done correctly, it had to be done on Har HaBayit. And apparently, according to Targum Yonasan, it was. The very first Leil Seder was done in Egypt, but the offerings were given at Har HaBayit. How is this possible? So it's known, Al Kanfei Nesharim, on the wings of eagles. According to Targum Yonasan, in Rav Sternberg documents that this is the only place in Tanakh and all the Meforshim that ever documented this, that Am Yisrael, the leaders of each family, went on the wings of an eagle and made their offering on the Temple Mount and was returned to their home before sunset in Egypt, in Goshen. And the blood was painted on the doorposts. Why was it that one time the blood was painted on the doorposts? What was that sheep or that lamb that was being offered? What was it in fact? Or that goat? Exactly. What would the equivalent be today?
The cow, the Indian.
Right. Or, not to mention the name of it, but to take the idolatrous statues in front of them and crush it and put it on the doorpost. Hang it outside your home to show them those are your gods. We're having them for breakfast. Or not for breakfast, we're having them for supper. It's forbidden to have the Korban Pesach ad haboker. And even to have an intention of that is called pigul, which is an evil thought. So to have it for supper, to have it for the Leil Seder, and to contemplate the uniqueness of the Leil Seder, that there's no other time in the year that Hallel is said during the nighttime prayer. Look very carefully. Hallel is part of the avodat in the Beis Hamikdash. And we do it in the shul, and we do it at home in the Leil Seder. And have you ever heard of people serving God and taking time out in the middle of the service to go out for supper? That's the Leil Seder. How do we reconcile this? How do we understand it? What is this epic event called the Haggadah that says to us, you got halfway through the Hallel? So hold on, guys, just take time out and have a feast. The most unusual prescription for serving Hashem. At any other time, it's serving Hashem completely and then partaking of the offering, those which are allowed. It's not something that is recommended or ever done during the offering. In this particular case, it is, which is unique, that the actual Leil Seder is part of the Avodat Kodesh, like work in the Beis HaMikdash. And then once completed the Leil Seder and done Birkat Hamazon, one continues with the Hallel. This is all part of an incredible package deal. And it's the one time of the year that every Jew across the world that holds with the Leil Seder actually does Birkat Hamazon. Which is incredible because there are two brachos, two blessings that are deraita. Of the 100 blessings we say every day, only 2 of them are commanded by Hashem. What are they?
Birkat Hamazon and Birkat Torah.
Exactly. Birkat Hamazon, Birkat Torah. So, on this night, why is this night different from all other nights? Obviously, those first 4, but we have to ask ourselves every step of the way, what unique thing are we learning tonight? And what unique thing in the Leil Seder is prescribed to the point that we have to do the Leil Seder at least 120 times. And for people in Galut, at least 240 times. If at first you don't succeed, try again until you can really live up to what you say. Shana haba Yerushalayim. May it be this year that we, Am Yisrael, come home, b'lev echad ke'ish echad, to Yerushalayim b'shleimut. And so that brings us in an incredible way through the Aleph to the Leil Seder and the Haggadah and the offerings. And in this we have to contemplate and reflect that throughout Torah, as we see in this week's Parshat, Vayikra el Moshe, that he spoke to Hashem, v'deber Hashem elav, and Hashem said to him, this is such epic, awesome stuff that most people go through this world and they never communicated once with Hashem. What a lonely existence, what a tragedy. Not to pray to Hashem, and even more tragic, not to have felt Hashem's guidance in this world. That's lonely. Not to feel Hashem in this world is infinitely lonely. To feel Hashem every step of the way is infinitely holy. So, we contemplated this moment through the humbleness of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he said to Hashem at a certain point, if you destroy a nation, take me out of your Torah. And every year on Moshe Rabbeinu's Yortzeit, it's one of the rare Parshas that doesn't have Moshe Rabbeinu's name in the Parshat at all. When we see Moshe Rabbeinu's humility in this week's Parsha, we see Moshe Rabbeinu's humility at the end of Sefer Dvarim, where Hashem says there was never a prophet as humble as Moshe Rabbeinu, and there never will be, which means Torah is forever. Anybody declaring war on Hashem is declaring war on Torah. Anybody that wants to reduce the amount of Torah that's been learned is an absolute vadai enemy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anybody that wants to remove Torah from Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is a vadai enemy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To the point that even the Pharaoh in Egypt never stopped the Levi'im from learning the Torah Shebal Peh of our forefathers, Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov Avinu, and from Adam and Rishon. That Torah was untampered with, even by the Pharaoh. He dared not mess with Mamlechet Kohanim. He understood that. And Avraham Avinu said when he first went into Egypt, there's one thing missing here. Just one thing missing in Egypt with all its blessings, its incredible power, its incredible opulence, and its incredible military abilities. The one thing missing is the fear of God. Let us reflect on that today. How those out there that are Mekerer et ha'emunah shel ha'nechashalim, those that are trying to destroy the faith of the weak, those that are trying to uproot Torah from Am Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, and from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, trying to destroy it piece by piece in the name of their peace gods. And so we see the humility of Moshe Rabbeinu also in the Haggadah. Where in the Leil Seder does it mention Moshe Rabbeinu?
once
Dayenu gets to the point where we reach Israel,
right.
base of Vayikra, but not once in Dayenu.
Only once, but
So the answer is you're right, but you're wrong. The name Moshe Rabbeinu is never mentioned in the Leil Seder. I challenge you and everybody across planet Earth to find the name of Moshe Rabbeinu once in the written Haggadah. You will not find it.
okay.
Not in the 3,300 years since Leil Yetziat Mitzrayim is the name of Moshe Rabbeinu ever mentioned in the written Haggadah. Okay, can I continue? Can I continue?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
What happens is there's a remez. There's a hint. How is that? That when we learn on the Leil Yetziat Mitzrayim, Hashem has to reiterate, to inform us that Hashem took us out of Egypt. And we have to know that in every generation, Hashem takes us out of Egypt. And what is a generation? Let's explore this, because on Leil Seder we sing it. Shebekol dovado omdim alanu v'chalutanu v'rach HaKadosh Baruch Hu hatzilanu miyadim. So what is this Leil Seder? What is Yetziat Mitzrayim? And what is it Shebekol dovado? Shebekol dovado, in every generation, how long is a generation? Well, in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, it says that when a man is 18, it's time to go to chuppah. So at 19 or 20, it's possible he could have a son or daughter, which means the new generation sets in. It says about the generation of David HaMelech, that David HaMelech reached 70 years old and left this world. And Achitophel, who was evil, didn't reach half his age, half the age that he was meant to reach, so he passed away at 35. So is a generation 35 years old? Is it 70 years old? Like it describes the generation of King David, Melech David. Or is it, in fact, the generation that Noach was told that man's life would not reach more than 120 years, and Moshe Rabbeinu reached 120 years, and Rabbi Akiva reached 120 years, and left this world on their birthday. Exactly 120 years. So, is it 18 years, 19, 20 years? Is it 35? Is it 70? Is it 120? What is the age of a generation? Does that mean that every 20, 35, 70, 120 years, Hashem, Chas v'Chalila, comes racing into planet Earth to rescue his nation once every 20 years, or 35, or 70, or 120? Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense, of course. So how do you understand this word generation? So I had a lot of problems with that, and I explored and researched, and I went to Rav Sternbuch, and he asked me what the problem was and what my thoughts were, and at that time I mentioned to him that it's not possible to contemplate Hashem as once every 20 years, even if we just contemplate the state of Israel, the War of Independence, then the War of 53, and the War of 57, and 63, and 67, and 73. So it seems at least every 10 years there's a major war. The first Lebanon War, the second Lebanon War, the first Gaza War, the second Gaza War, the War of Attrition. There seems to be a lot of wars going on. And of course to our brothers and sisters in Chutz La'aretz, in Galut, there seems to be constant danger. So how do we understand in each generation? So Rav Sternbuch asked me, and I had thought about it, and I asked if this was a possibility, that what is the number of Am Yisrael right now? We could say something in the vicinity of 12 million to 18 million, something between there and there, but to know it absolutely, to an exact soul, who would know that? Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu, correct. So let's say in mathematics, if you don't know a number and you're trying to work out a certain equation, what do you use in place of that number?
X.
The letter X, exactly. So let's say the number is X. And let's say in a second, a little Jewish neshama is born in Sharet Tzedek, or Hadassah in Kerem, or somewhere in the world. At this second, what is the number of Am Yisrael?
X plus 1.
X plus 1. And a second later, an old tzaddik reaches 120 years, and Metz Hashem accomplished everything that could be accomplished in his generation, and he says Kriyat Shema and returns his soul to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the number of the generation now?
X.
But it's a different X.
Oh.
It's X plus 1 minus 1. Numerically the same, but quantitatively completely different. Why? Because that old tzaddik had his zchut, and the generation were benefiting from it. All his mitzvahs and his tefillah and his tzedakah were fortifying the generation, and at that moment that he left, something very precious left this world. But must understand it, a second before he was united with that little boy that was born in the world. So when that little boy was born in the world, and that old tzaddik of 120 were in the world, together, united, that was a unique moment in time and a unique generation. How long were they together for? The little baby was born. A second later, that old tzaddik left the world. How long were they united in this world?
Second.
1 second. So what would that be called? A unique generation.
No.
So now let's reflect. Shebakol shnia v'shnia. In every second and second, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saving his nation. Living here in Israel is not less than the miracle of Kriyat Yam Suf, the splitting of the Red Sea. In the Red Sea we could see the wall of destruction to the right of us, and we could see the wall of destruction to the left of us. And the moment the last toe of the last Jew had left the Red Sea, the ocean flooded our enemies and drowned them. And so standing in Eretz HaKodesh, the Holy Land, when we look to the east of us, there's an ocean of billions of people that in 1 second would launch all their military might, all their atom bombs and all their armies to annihilate us. And to the west of us, more of the same. And so this little sliver of land, about the size of New Jersey, this little nation continues in a miracle not less than Kriyat Yam Suf for the last 60 odd years. And we see the first flower of our redemption, that in every second, wherever we have been, in the 2,000 years of Galut, in the 3,300 years since the Beis HaMikdash, and from the times of Avram Avinu, Yitzhak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hands-on involved in the micromanagement of each and every Jew, of each and every one of his loyal creations. To a blade of grass and to a drop of rain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is intimately involved. And so we see in the Leil Seder of everything that was documented, one thing clearly was not documented, the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. Not once in Leil Seder, Vayikra, by accident, not a chance. Moshe Rabbeinu was so humble, he didn't even want his name mentioned there. Awesome lessons for the Leil Seder, the humility and the love.
Yeah, I was about to, you were saying, there was that pasuk about how they believed in Hashem and his servant Moshe, which, that's in the Haggadah, that one mention actually.
Check it out, show me. I'd be interested, but anyway, in the meantime, I will show you where it's hinted at.
Okay.
It's in the Torah, but not in the Haggadah. I've been through the Haggadah and I've looked very carefully. Okay, but kids, it may be in certain commentaries. Absolutely, the commentaries are overflowing with of insights. So as far as the Leil Seder, it says that Hashem took us out of Egypt, Hashem and not a malach. Hashem and not a saraf. Hashem velo ha'adam. So it says Hashem and not a fiery angel. Hashem and not an angel. Hashem and not a fiery angel. Hashem and no man took us out. So you could say no man actually implies or hints at Moshe, but there's something far more profound than that. The otiyot, that start the sentence. Not Malach. The first letter of Malach is Hashem, and not Seraph, which is a fiery angel. That's A. Hashem, V'lo Ha'adam. Ha'adam starts with a Hey. What does that equal? Hashem and not Moshe took us out of Egypt. Even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want anybody to worship him. To the point that until today nobody knows where his grave is. It would be too much for Moshe Rabbeinu to even have the agony of a person, chas v'chalila, worshiping to him at his grave. Lo rotzeh. And Hashem honored Moshe with that incredible, incredible kindness. So we see from the elevation offerings, the meal offerings, different products for different people, the value, as we just saw on Purim, the power of a tiny little offering worth maybe 1 agara, how much power the learning of that mitzvah had upon our nation. What was that offering? An offering called kamitzah. The 3-fingered scoop. That the thumb and the pinky are not part of scooping the kemach, the fine flour, oil and frankincense, that the Kohen shall give as a memorial portion to go up in smoke on the altar. What happened when Achashverosh met with Haman and gave him the ring, so to speak, to annihilate the Jewish nation? At that point, what was Mordechai learning with the Tinukei Shabbat Ramban? He was learning the Kamitzah offering. How with the 3 fingers and dusting off the excess, by offering that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this week's Parshat, that the evil decree to annihilate the children, the men and women of Am Yisrael by the hands of Amalek, Haman, Yimach Shemo V'Zichrono, was cancelled in the schut of that. And not only that, but it turns out that Haman gave the entire wealth of silver that would fit a football stadium to Achashverosh for the privilege of murdering Am Yisrael. And the schut of that was in the trillions of dollars. And what was the worth of 1 sentence of limud of Torah? It cancelled the decree of the annihilation of Am Yisrael. So how much more so today are we at a critical point in world history where Hashem's enemies are desperate through the Nachashalim, the weak ones, to destroy Torah learning amongst Am Yisrael, to destroy the faith, and to destroy the nation. Desperately, they are chipping away in every way, shape and form. They couldn't care how much it costs to tell us that the only peace you can have is bowing down to their gods, be it the gods of stone or wood, or be it the gods of false promises. We see how awesome it is that at a tiny drop in the ocean, there is a guaranteed covenant of peace. Perek Gimel, Re'im Zevach Shlamim. If his offering is a feast, peace offering, this is the guaranteed peace. If he offers it from the cattle, male or female, unblemished, before Hashem, shall lean his hands upon the head of his offering and slaughter at the entrance of the tent of meeting, sons of Aaron the Kohanim shall throw the blood upon the altar all around. From the feast, peace offering, he shall offer as a fire offering to Hashem, fat that covers the intestines and all the fat that is upon the insides, the 2 kidneys, the fat that is upon them, that is upon the flanks. He shall remove the diaphragm with the liver and the kidneys. Sons of Aaron shall cause it to go up in smoke on the altar beside the elevation offering that is on the wood that is on the fire. A fire offering, a satisfying aroma to Hashem. If his offering to Hashem is a peace offering from the flock, he shall bring it before Hashem. If it's a sheep or a goat, the same offering. An eternal decree for your generations, in all your dwelling places, you may not consume any fat or any blood. This peace offering are brought voluntarily by a person, a group, or by the nation to express their love and gratitude for Hashem's goodness, to enhance their closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sfono says that the peace offering is brought as a tribute to God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When the person moved to offer it recognized the ways of Hashem's goodness and His constant goodness to all Am Yisrael and the good people of the world. The word shalom, peace, also comes from the spiritual capacity to increase peace in the world. The peace offering has a portion for the altar, a portion for the kohanim, and a portion for the owner, as its name symbolizes the peace that results when the legitimate needs of all the groups are satisfied. According to Korban Aaron, the peace expressed by the name of the harmony between the heavenly world and the spiritual earthly world is maintained through this offering. One who brings a peace offering seeks to unite all the different worlds, and this is the only way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will unite it. The Ramban derives the word shlemim from shelmot, wholeness, completeness, because the person who brings the offering has not been motivated by any need or greed or lustings, but only the desire to atone for sin and a sense of wholeness and free will desire to be closer to Hashem. This is chesed. It says that the world stands on three pillars: ala Torah, ala Avodah, v'al Gimilut Chasadim. That in Pirkei Avot, it says that peace is only achieved through emet, din, will there be shalom. And so we see that Torah is emet, Avodat Hashem is to tikkun the din, and chesed ultimately brings shalom. So we see that anybody that tries to bring a ziyuf, a fraudulent peace covenant to Am Yisrael, goes the way of that covenant, that they are consumed. When they say, by dividing Jerusalem into two cities for two nations, you will have your peace, they are doing the work of Amalek. They are trying to destroy the faith and the God of Israel. It will not succeed. They will go the way of all Hashem's enemies, guaranteed. We see an incredible thing that so many people thought that when Ariel Sharon was voted into power, there was crazy celebration amongst the right-wingers, thinking that now Mashiach has arrived. And people were singing in the streets, Arik Melech Yisrael. What a tragedy. A week before the disengagement, Rav Ovadia Yosef said to him on national radio, Arik, listen very carefully. Ariel Sharon, listen very carefully. If you continue with the disengagement, maybe, Hashem will just give you a flick in the brain and you'll never stand again. How many things could Rav Ovadia Yosef have said? A heart attack. You could die of malignancy. You could die of an assassin, just as one of the other prime ministers perished. You could die of a million things. But it says, Tzadik Omer, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oseh, that people don't understand the power of the Gedolei Ador. It's Kayem in Shemayim, that of all the trillions of things, when Moshe Rabbeinu pleaded to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, take out Korach in a way that's never been done before, Hashem created a sinkhole, and Korach and his evil party were swallowed up immediately. And in hell, until today apparently, the fiery cauldrons of burning him and scorching him and his party of conspirators, co-conspirators against Kodesh Baruch Hu, And it's reported in the Gemara that in every second they cry out, Toras emes, Moshe emes, or Torah so emes. That Moshe Rabbeinu is true and his Torah is the Torah of truth. What an amazing irony for those enemies that today are trying to follow the ways of Datan v'Aviram, that are trying to be the fifth column, guys, and recruit Am Yisrael to make a covenant of fraud against the Kodesh Baruch Hu. If a person is ultimately and eternally bound up to have true peace on earth and in heaven, let him lay down his weapons and let him lay down his tools. And on the seventh day, let Am Yisrael go on strike. Let Am Yisrael go on strike from the forces of this world, from the labors of this world, and celebrate with the King of Kings. This celebration is a guarantee of peace. Make no mistake that even if the security services would like to guard our doors, if they would want to be the Shomer Daltot Yisrael, no ways impossible. If Barak, with his military power, thinks he can protect Am Yisrael, he can't even protect his own job. If Ariel Sharon, people thought that maybe he was Melech Yisrael, what a tragedy to see that an ant is more powerful than him today. So, anybody that thinks that they can have Ariel Sharon, Barak Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, make no mistake about it, it's a tragedy of infinite proportions. The only Shalom, the guaranteed Shalom, Ein Shabbat Shalom, Ein Barak Shalom, Ein Ariel Shalom, Rak Shabbat Shalom. May we, Am Yisrael, return, and may Hashem return to us, and may we experience heaven on earth, and may we all unite as heart and soul in the celebration of the greatness of Hashem's creation, heaven and earth, and may we finally return from the 70 Egypts to the one Yerushalayim, the one inheritance that Hashem guarantees and keeps for us through all time, that we can celebrate with the King of Kings, Shemayim ala Aretz. Tiyeh Shabbat Shalom.